Cruelty of lunch shaming. Lunch shaming is the cruel act of shaming a child by withholding a proper lunch from them because of previous school lunch debt. Who should be blamed and what should be done? Lunch shaming has been around for quite some time, and it is astonishing that it has not been completely banished yet. The effects of lunch shaming beg for a change to be made. Lunch shaming has many negative effects on children who are innocent and unjustly punished for something that is completely out of their control. Changes are being made, yet this problem continues. It is up to us to protect them and bring a change to their lives so they don't have to fear or be afraid of shame every time they enter a lunch line. So the question, what even is lunch shaming, is easily answered and nicely summed up by Heather Long in her article for CNN Business. A school lunch costs around $2.35. When a kid doesn't have enough money, many schools require cafeteria workers to take a kid's tray of hot food away and throw it in the trash. Children are then handed a cold cheese sandwich, or they are forced to go hungry with no food at all. Lunch shaming is done to children because they either lack the money needed to pay for their lunch, or their parents/guardians have not paid for their previous lunches and have debt owed to the school for these lunches. Cafeteria workers take away these kids' lunches because they are not allowed to give them their lunches when they have this outstanding debt. This act is brutally shaming these children in front of their peers and friends because of a reason that some of them would not even understand why, let alone have the means to remedy the problem. Lunch shaming has many effects on children, none of them being good. The first effect is the way that their peers will handle this information that is put before them. Children are already going through that time of their life where words hurt more because they don't know how to process them and how to ignore certain people and certain things. These other children can then take this information and choose to bully kids for being too poor or having parents that don't love them, because they see that this child cannot have their lunch because of this outstanding debt that their legal guardians have not paid. Bullying is already so widespread, children don't need another thing that adds fuel to their fire that their peers will use against them. The second effect is something that can be just as, if not more, harmful to a child. Children can suffer from lack of nutrition if they are not given their lunches or handed a substitute lunch rather than the original one. An excerpt from the article, Healthy Body, Healthy Mind, The Impact of School Lunch on Student Performance, from Campbell's University shows some of the indirect effects that nutrition plays a part in a child's ability to perform at school. The indirect effects of poor nutrition can be severely detrimental to the performance of students over time. Students with unhealthy lifestyles are far more likely to become sick. These illnesses then have an effect on the amount of class time missed. By not attending classes, students are much more likely to fall behind, and when they are in class, they are more likely to have little energy and to have concentration issues. There are also the added threats that come from lunch shaming. School leaders have even taken it farther than just simply taking away a child's lunch because of the unpaid debt owed to the schools. Nadra Niddle speaks in her article about some of the other threats they use. An Alabama elementary school stamps a child's arm with the message, "I need lunch money." A Minnesota school district warns graduating seniors that they will not receive caps and gowns unless their meal debt is paid. A New Hampshire cafeteria worker is fired for serving students with outstanding lunch debt bills. This is just an example of how schools have taken it so far in shaming these children, let alone the fact that they can stamp these children's arms with a stamp that brands the child with shame that gives peers more reasons to bully them. Now that we have showed just what lunch shaming is, how it is performed, and how it affects children, who is to blame for this act of unjust punishment on children? The first people to think about putting the blame of this act would be on the cafeteria workers because they are the ones who usually are performing the acts. Are these cafeteria workers performing these acts because they want to and/or enjoy shaming these children? Or are they being forced to participate in this because it is a job requirement? While it is impossible to know how each and every cafeteria worker feels, this article from NBC News shows how at least one cafeteria worker feels about having to lunch shame children. Stacy Kaliska was happy working in an elementary school cafeteria, but after a new policy dictated that any student with a balance of at least $25 would be denied a hot lunch, she was troubled enough to quit after 2 years on the job. And I have no problem holding parents accountable, but kids need the energy to focus throughout the day, Kaliska said Wednesday. Don't our children have enough to deal with? This brings in the second group of people, the parents. Are parents to blame for their children getting unjustly shamed? Parents/legal guardians are the ones who are supposed to be in charge for providing for their children. Do they not know what is happening to their children because of this? Do they not care, or can they just not change their circumstances that cause them to be unable to pay for their children's lunches? The Blaze says this in their article regarding parents' position in lunch shaming. Your child has been sent to school every day without money and without a breakfast and/or lunch. This is a failure to provide your child with proper nutrition, and you can be sent to dependency court for neglecting your child's right to food. The result may be your child being taken from your home and placed in foster care. This is proof that at least at some schools and districts, parents are being notified and threatened to pay for their school's lunches, or consequences will come about. Parents cannot use the excuse that they do not know about this, so why are they trying not to help their children out and find a fix to the situation? The third source to put the blame of lunch shaming on is the government. If the government knows about lunch shaming and all the bad effects it has on children, then why are they not trying to remedy the situation? Just by doing a simple search online, you can see that in some places the government is trying to stop it and bring a change. However, the government can only allocate so much money to the different things that are happening in the nation. Public schools are already free for children, so the question to be posed is, should their lunches be completely free too? Is it the government's place to pay for these children's schooling as well as their lunches, or should the parents who made the choice to have the kids be responsible for taking care of their children's lunches? Lunch shaming is a terrible, shameful act that places the consequences of unpaid school lunch debt on the shoulders of children. It needs to be stopped, but can a solution be found? The first option is that a different school lunch be given to the children. This is in practice by other schools, however, are these other lunches as nutritious as the regular ones? There is also the problem that by giving a child a different lunch, they are still going to be shamed because their peers are going to recognize that they are not given the same as them. They might ask the questions, or just know the reason that these children are getting different lunches. The second option is that should the schools somehow place the punishment on the parents instead of the children. This would be a good option because it is the parents/legal guardian's responsibility in the first place to make sure that their children are getting proper lunches. Parents are the ones supposed to pay the bills in the first place. Schools officials could enact this punishment by adding additional fees for late/overdue payments to the parents' bills, and they could later take the parents to court to ensure they received the money. The third option is that the government should be coming up with the solutions. The government could step in by enacting laws that prohibit lunch shaming to take place. They could enact a law stating that the child be given the lunch and then later schedule a meeting to discuss the issue with the parents. This would give the option of taking the shame away from the kids while creating a scenario to have a discussion with the parents. The government could ensure that there are programs to help these parents to be able to provide the money for the lunch bills. The government and schools could collectively get together to help make parents aware that there are such things as food stamps, government aid programs, and charities that are willing to help those in need. The fourth option would be that parents choose to pack their kids' lunches instead of having them get their lunch from the cafeteria. Parents could pack leftovers or shop sales and discounts at stores so they could be in control of how much they are spending on their children's lunches. This would help them pack their kids everything they need that fits within their budget, while also taking away the shame of a child having to walk through the cafeteria food line just to be handed a substitute to the regular meal, or no meal at all. Lunch shaming is the cruel act of withholding a proper lunch from a child because of outstanding lunch debt owed to a school. Lunch shaming is a cruel and unfair act upon children that needs to be put an end to once and for all. Lunch shaming needs to be stopped because it can be a terrible effect on not only children's physical health, but also their mental health. I believe that lunch shaming can in fact be stopped. I don't think it will be an easy fix, but I think it is well worth the time, energy, and money to help innocent kids who cannot defend themselves or change their situation. Some of those solutions I believe would work in stopping lunch shaming would be to first stop making the kids suffer the consequences for the unpaid lunch debt and shift that blame to the parents. I think that school officials should take the parents aside and schedule a meeting with the parents to discuss the options with them. Schools could enact special lunch payment plans, explain to parents their options, such as packing their kids' lunches instead of buying them from the school, and help the parents get in contact with the government or local aid programs that could help them. I don't believe it is necessarily the government's responsibility to provide free school plus free lunches to these children, but I do believe that there are already government programs out there that could help these parents who are trying to make ends meet and are struggling. The government and school officials could join forces to help parents get signed up for help so that their unpaid lunch debts get paid for children and don't have to suffer anymore. Also, parents could start packing their own kids' lunches and having to pay for school lunch bills. These solutions would help to eliminate lunch shaming innocent children. Regardless of how it is done, the blame and shame should be shifted from off the children who can't create a change to the adults whose responsibility is to care and to protect these children. By putting a stop to lunch shaming, children would no longer have to walk through the cafeteria line with dread in their heart and fear or shame because of something they can't help. Children would no longer have to be hungry throughout their school day and would be able to focus on the reason that they are at school, to learn and study so they can be the best people they can be. Lunch shaming is a cruel and unjust act that happens to children because of unpaid school lunch debt. It can and needs to be stopped.